Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Pilot Principle, the podcast where we take a look at just the first episode of a series, the pilot, and then use it to decide if we should watch the entire series, or at least the second episode. If you are new here or you are a regular who isn't already doing so, hit follow so I have half a reason to keep making these pilot reviews. I'm I'm just kidding. I like the sound of my own voice and the echo chamber of my own opinions too much to stop. Okay, so on this episode of The Pilot Principle, we are looking at episode number 1 of Channel 4's new mystery thriller series, The Gathering. I don't have a series synopsis for this one, so let's just get straight into the credits. And with the credits, I also don't have a pilot title for you, so let's go to the pilot synopsis, which says, the rivalry between gymnasts Kelly and Jessica turns toxic. Dun dun dun! We have an episode length of 47-ish minutes and a series length of 6 episodes. The pilot episode was written by Helen Walsh, who is also the series creator, and Walsh has also written The Violators in 2015 and will be writing the upcoming drama romance, not quite sure if it's a film or a series, but it's called On the Sea. Now, I've got questions, as I always do, because there is a seemingly blank 10-year gap in Walsh's filmography between The Violators and The Gathering, but you know what? I'll look into that in my own time. Gareth Bryn is the director for the pilot episode, and Bryn has directed episodes of Hinterland, Last Tango in Halifax, and Line of Duty. In terms of cast, we first have Eva Morgan, who plays Kelly, and I believe The Gathering is her first acting role, so well done, Eva Morgan, you are off to a smashing start. Sadie Soverall plays Jessica, and Soverall has starred in Fate, The Winx Saga, Saltburn, Arcadian, and Little Bone Lodge. Warren Brown plays Paul Deacon, and Brown has starred in the likes of Luther, The Responder, Trigger Point, and Strike Back. And finally, we have Vinette Robinson, who plays Natalie. And Robinson has starred in The Lazarus Project, which we all know that I love at this point, and I'm still sad that it has been cancelled. She's also starred in Boiling Point and Inside Number 9. The pilot also stars Sonny Walker, Luca Kamler Chapman, and Richard Coyle. And if I haven't already said, this one is going out on Channel 4, and all episodes are currently available on Channel 4's streaming service. Now, in terms of what made me want to watch the pilot episode of The Gathering, well, I actually did see half of an advert for it in the cinema. Can't remember what I was watching, but my interest was mildly piqued, mostly because of the gymnastics element. I did gymnastics when I was little, and I can still do a pretty decent cartwheel. I'll have to, ice my back, but it looks great. Another reason that I thought about watching The Gathering is actually because my friend recommended it to me. She said it was right up my street, and so far I don't think that was an insult, but time could possibly tell. Okay, all the preamble is out of the way. Let us dive into the pilot itself, starting with the first 10 minutes. Why the first 10 minutes, you wonder? Well, because the first 10 minutes of a television pilot is ideally constructed to sort of grip the wandering eye and the trigger-fingered fingers of the audience into sort of sitting still and investing in the entire episode. So that is why I look at the first 10 minutes to see if I'm interested enough in continuing and if they've done a good job. So the first 10 minutes of the pilot episode of The Gathering goes like this. We are at a gathering, and it is not the wholesome kind. It's the kind that desperately needs some adult supervision. Kids are on a beach, it's nighttime, they're drinking, kissing, dancing, doing drugs, the usual. However, while all of this is happening, a girl is being drowned. The next morning, via a news item, we hear that the body of a girl has washed up after an illegal rave at Hillborough Island. And then the clock rewinds 1 month earlier and we meet Kelly. She's a teenage girl who is waiting to hear if she's made the gymnastics team/club. Later that day, Kelly's free-running mates sneak her out of school so they can do tricks in the middle of town. And it's here that she bumps into fellow gymnastics teammate Jessica, who does some sort of flirty eye thing with one of Kelly's friends, Adam. All of this is observed by Jessica's judgmental mother, Natalie. Later on this day, Kelly's dad, Paul, attends parents' evening and learns that his son, Tate, is really good with computers and is encouraged to take the 11 plus exams and get into the posh school, which he is a bit apprehensive about. Finally, after jumping across a building with new guy Bazzy, Kelly waves goodbye to her parkour posse and runs off for training, where she hears from her coach that she's made the team, strictly under the condition that she doesn't do any more street tricks. When Kelly walks out of her coach's office and bumps into Jessica, she doesn't tell her the good news. And that is about the 10-ish, probably more like 13-ish minute mark. As an introduction, I think that was really good. What I liked about the very start is when we are watching this girl being drowned, we can't quite tell who it is because it's nighttime and it all happens so quickly. However, I think it is Kelly, and the way that we then cut to her 1 month earlier tells me it's her, but I'm not fully sure. And that sort of disorientating feeling is quite good because it keeps me wanting to watch and find out more. I will also say from the first 10 minutes that the sort of free running parkour thing is a really cool twist. I mean, I personally just really enjoyed watching all these people run and jump and twist and flip all up and down the streets of Liverpool. And on that Liverpudlian note, not to sound patronising, but I love the fact that it's a regional show, the accents, and there's a level of authenticity it has that I can't quite place. So from the first 10 minutes, so far, it's got all the right building blocks to keep me intrigued and wanting to watch on. Next, taking a look at our main characters, I would say that we have two. The first, of course, being Kelly. And Kelly is a regular schmegular degular teenager. She's trying to get good grades. She likes to hang out with her friends. She's involved in after-school sports activities. And she has just met a boy she likes, Bazzy. She's perfectly normal. I mean, her home life is less than perfect, as we learn that her mother has recently passed away. But she, her younger brother Tate, and her dad Paul are all managing together as best as they can. Her family are also supportive of her gymnastics ambitions, and it's impossible to imagine after watching the pilot episode who on earth would want her dead, if she is the dead girl referenced by the news in the first 10 minutes. One thing I will say about Kelly is that to a degree, it seems like she's trying to keep her worlds separate. She's got school, her home life, her parkour pals, and her posh gymnastics mates. And there are a few reasons that make me say that she wants to keep everything separate. The first thing is that when Jessica mentions that she's been texting Adam, she tries to dissuade any sort of relationship forming between the two of them. Also, when her dad asks her where she's been after she's been hanging out with Bazzy all day, she brushes it off. And this could just be normal teenage behaviour, but it does make me wonder how far Kelly could go to keep her worlds divided. The second main character I'd say that we have is Jessica, and stop me if you've heard this one before, but she's a regular schmegular degular teenager. She is more affluent than Kelly, but she doesn't seem to be having as much fun, most likely due to her overbearing mother. Jessica wants to make the team as much as Kelly does, but she clearly doesn't have the talent. I would say that there is something lonely about Jess's life, especially compared to Kelly's, despite arguably being in a better economic situation. I will say from the pilot episode that Jessica isn't your average snobbish, posh girl. She seems to genuinely like Kelly and seems to be attracted to Kelly's friend Adam in a way that seems honest and not that whole rich kid wanting a bit of rough stereotype. And in all honesty, from the pilot episode at least, I like both of these girls. I think the dynamic of Kelly and Jess, is really interesting in the pilot episode. I mean, they're sort of distorted reflections. We've got wealthy versus working class. We've got prim and proper versus cool and crass. And then the neutral ground of gymnastics and the idea that money can't buy you talent. I think so far with their characteristics, it's a good sort of ring of jealousy, rivalry, and, well, I suppose, murder. In terms of an antagonist, I mean, it's pretty hard to say from the pilot episode because, yes, this will turn into a murder mystery and a whodunit, and arguably the person who did it is our antagonist. But also, and I'm not saying that she's a murderer, but Natalie is definitely giving antagonistic energy, and Natalie is Jessica's mum. She's basically just not a nice person. For one, she's a pushy sports mum and just doesn't want to let her child rest. For two, she hits a cyclist one night because her headlights aren't turned on, but she doesn't even so much as get out of the car to check up on them. She just sort of speeds away, rude. And also, when she hears that Kelly has made the team and her daughter Jess hasn't, she refers to Kelly as a scheming little cow to Jess, which is just weird. Like, why are you shit stirring about a teenager? Odd behavior. Also, she works in PR, and that's not exactly the career of a hero, you know? Again, I'm not saying that Natalie did it, but what I am saying is that I wouldn't be surprised if she did. And now it is time for a quick interlude to see what TV and film life is looking like beyond the pilot principle. And as always, we start with books, as much as I am ashamed at this stage to even still be mentioning books, because reading is still going terribly. Thank you for asking. So I actually did manage to finish The Body in the Library by Agatha Christie, and I have picked up The Remains of the Day by Kazu Ishiguro, but I haven't actually opened it. But it's okay, there's a lot going on this month, specifically in the film category, because at the time of recording this, I am about halfway through a movie a day in the month of May. And you know what? So far, so good. I have ticked off a lot of films on my TBW to be watched list, but I still feel like I've barely scratched the surface, which is really exciting because there's still like 16 odd days to go. In terms of television, once again, kind of like with books, I've been so focused on watching films and just doing other bits that I haven't been able to watch as much television as I would have liked. However, I can tell you what I need to catch up on by the time it gets to June, and that is Blood of Zeus Season 2, which is finally out after I can't even remember how many years of waiting. As well as that, The Responder Season 2 dropped recently, another Liverpool-based drama, which was one of my favourite programmes of, I want to say, 2022 when it came out. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they're doing with the next series. What I have watched are the first 2 episodes of this new series of Doctor Who with the new Doctor Ncuti Gatwa and his new companion Millie Gibson, I want to say. Let's just call them the Doctor and Ruby. So I did watch the first 2 episodes and it was really enjoyable. It's great to sort of get back into that world of Doctor Who with the new Doctor and exploring their dynamics and their character traits and how they deal with situations and watching them run and solve mysteries in space, in time, in the present, in the past. It's beautiful. And a shout out to that second episode. I thought Maestro was a fantastic villain. Absolutely fantastic. And it makes me really excited to see what other villains that we're going to be getting this series. Right, if you've made it this far, then it is my duty to remind you to follow the pilot principle on your audio streamer of choice so you know when a new episode drops. And then to come and find me over on Instagram and Twitter/X at Pilot Principle. And over on TikTok, if you're a TikToker, just search A Writer of Sorts and you can come and chat to me over on all kinds of social media about the latest in film and TV and books. In terms of what I liked about the pilot episode of The Gathering, the main thing for me was the depiction of the generation, specifically in Liverpool. I mean, this is everything from the clothes to the attitude and the music. None of it felt forced or like it's written out of touch, which, yes, might be hard for me to say because I am probably double their age, but it just felt really authentic to me and helped me to invest in the world with each passing scene. And yeah, I don't know, I just got really excited about seeing that youth culture of Liverpool, especially compared to London, because it felt different to London. And I might not be a kid, but I'm definitely a Londoner. So yes, all of it I think was constructed really, really well. It seemed really thoughtful and authentic. On the flippity flip side, in terms of what I didn't like so much, nitpicking Jen is back. I'm just here to nitpick. And the specific thing I wasn't a fan of is that we basically meet a new character at the very end of the episode, like in the last 5-ish minutes. And with this new character, we are introduced to a possible new plot thread. And I just felt like it was too late in the game for that. I was a bit like, who the hell are you? What are you adding to the story now? Like, just no. And actually, this new character, we meet them twice. But the first time when we see them speak is the one that really threw me. The second time teased them up for episode 2 and add some intrigue to the scene in the right way. But that first time I just thought was really jarring and I don't know, for some reason just took me out of the space a little bit. Could we not have waited for that 2-second scene to be in episode 2 at the start? That's just me as a person who is an avid television watcher and pilot reviewer and occasional writer. Rightio then, before we get into that all-important question, let's have a quick look back over the pilot episode of a whole, starting with the synopsis, which of course tells us that the rivalry between gymnasts, Kelly and Jessica, turns toxic. Now, I don't think this pilot synopsis was quite accurate because there's no toxicity between them in the first episode. There's the bubbling sense of jealousy, which is just natural in competitive sports, but they're still friends for the majority of this episode, so I don't think that pilot synopsis was quite accurate. I thought the writing was good, really authentic, and that is coming from someone who is twice the age of the people that they're watching, but it was believable. It didn't feel out of touch to me. The setting, fantastic, not just because I worked in Liverpool for a short time and had to do a bunch of research, so I know the two liver birds are called Bella and Bertie, and I can tell you which one was which. But Liverpool was more than a location that they filmed in. It felt not quite like a character, but it was present throughout, and I like that very much. I thought the pace was okay, but that was mostly because I was confused, but confused in a good way, where you're trying to put together the puzzle pieces and understanding the lives of these people. It wasn't dull at all, as we learnt who Kelly was, Jessica was, their background, their relationship with their friends and their families. So yeah, really well paced. And that's saying something considering it's not exactly an action-packed pilot episode or drama at all. Now, in terms of the end of episode hook, there are kind of two, I want to say. So the first one is the one that takes place in the past, the 1 month earlier scenes, which is the majority of the pilot episode. Kelly's dad, Paul, has been arrested for an incident that happened 8 months ago. The man who had him arrested goes on to tell presumably his son, and says, "I thought you'd be pleased after what she did to you." She, presumably again being Kelly, and this son is the new character that I was talking about that was introduced very late in the episode that I was a bit like, no thanks, wait for episode 2. And then in the present, the end of episode hook here is that Kelly is the girl who has been found and is dead. Or at least it's set up like that. Anyway, we get a run of all the suspects. So that's Kelly's best friend, Adam, Kelly's teammate, Jessica, Jessica's mum, Natalie, the building jumping free runner, Bazzy, who she goes on a date with, and then the unnamed boy that we meet in the last 5 minutes. Now, in terms of a serial arc, I think it's hard to say because I don't quite know how the story will be told at this stage. Will it be all told in the past, working its way to the present? Or will it be told across both timelines? But here are some possible serial arcs. So Kelly, at the end of the episode, has also been kicked off of the gymnastics team because somebody sent that free running video when she was in town with her friends to her coach. So the question is, of course, who sabotaged her? Will she get back on the team? Will she try and get some revenge against the saboteur? Next, we have Paul, who has been arrested for this incident that happened 8 months ago. So, of course, the question is that we might learn is what happened then to get him into this situation? And what does it have to do with Kelly? I'm also thinking that over the course of the series, we will learn or see what lengths Jessica's mum, Natalie, will go to get Jessica on the gymnastics team. Finally, if it is Kelly who has been killed, we need to understand why and, of course, by who. Now, I keep having a question mark over the fact that Kelly is the body that's been found because, you never believe anybody is dead until you see a body when you're watching things on television, unless you have a clear look at their face. It's been over 48 hours. You've seen them be buried. You just never know who's going to come back alive. And that is just the suspicious nature of which I watch television with, because you never know. You never know where the plot twist is going to come in. Okay, now there is only one question left to ask, and that is, will I be continuing with The Gathering? Pause for dramatic effect. You're going to have to add this to my tab, but yes, and here is why. I really enjoyed the sort of push and pull characterization of Kelly and Jess and the upcoming deterioration of their friendship. I think the element of gymnastics brought forth the sort of jealousy and competitive notes to the program to run as a really lovely undercurrent. And I think even though the kids were the focus, of the pilot episode, you could sense the darkness and the secrets in their parents too in the background. From the pilot episode, you can already start to see the themes of the series coming through with class, and yeah, I just love the regionality of it as well. So it just ticked a lot of boxes for me. But it might not have ticked a lot of boxes for you. So The Gathering may not be for you if you don't like teenagers being the focal point. And that's okay, because that's normally me too. The Gathering may also not be for you if you don't enjoy a whodunit where we see the murder taking place first off the bat to lure us into the program. Because yes, I understand where you're coming from. It does feel a bit like cheating. And finally, I suppose if you don't understand other accents, I mean, you could just put on subtitles, but I don't know, to be honest. This show so far is for everybody who likes a gritty UK drama. If there's a reason why this isn't for you, let me know. And finally, in terms of a pilot score, I will be giving the pilot episode of The Gathering a 4 out of 5. And that's because it was bloody engaging. I mean, a good mix of characters with their own side quests to build up on the main narrative. We have, I think, a very honest and easy portrayal of kids today, the city that they live in, their culture, the music, all of that really made this zing and brought the pilot episode as a whole to life. I did knock off a point because of the introduction of what might be a very pivotal character and puzzle piece really late in the episode, which, again, I thought was more confusing than intriguing. Now that we've hashed out the fundamental principles, will you be giving the pilot episode a watch? Or have you already binged every episode of The Gathering, as it is all available to watch on Channel 4's streaming service? Don't forget to follow the Pilot Principle on your audio streamer of choice. Follow and chat to me over on Threads, Instagram and Twitter/X at Pilot Principle, and TikTok at A Writer of Sorts. And I will catch you on the next episode. Aww.